Pete, one, appreciate you jumping on at the drop of a hat. Two, can you sort of put this in like layman's terms? Like, explain this to me like I'm five. What is going on here with Tennessee, Virginia, and the NCAA?
Yeah, so a couple things to note right off the bat, right? So obviously everyone's eyes was on Tennessee yesterday with the NCAA investigation. This is clearly a lawsuit that did not just come together in the last 24 hours. This has been building over time. And then in terms of the lawsuit itself, JD, what is really going on here is the state attorney generals from Tennessee and Virginia are challenging the NCAA. They filed the lawsuit for a temporary restraining order against the NCAA for the NCAA, prospective student athletes, right? They cannot sign NIL deals with collectives at the moment. The NCAA oversees that, and these two state attorney generals are challenging that and saying that it violates antitrust law.
So what could be like the fallout from this? Let's just go ahead and say that Tennessee and Virginia walk in there, wipe the floor with the NCAA. Does this lead to like a ripple effect of more change on the NIL landscape, or what can we see happening here, Pete?
I mean, let's put it bluntly. If Tennessee and Virginia wins this, it means the NCAA can no longer oversee college sports and NIL enforcement. And all of a sudden, we're having conversations about what is there amateurism anymore? Does the NCAA exist? The NCAA is already being pressed in another court case about its transfer portal rule. So if they lose that and they lose this, all of a sudden, college sports is officially off to the races and the NCAA is out of the picture.
Wow. So this is kind of like, this could be the straw that breaks the camel's back, is what you're saying. Like, this could be the thing that sets the NCAA apart from college sports. And would that be college sports as a whole? Would that be just college football, or like how could that play out here going forward?
Well, I mean, obviously it'd be all of college sports, but when we talk about the big NIL deals and the big transfer portal movement, we're talking about college football, college basketball, college baseball, women's basketball. But man, this has been building, right? Like the NIL started July 1, 2021. And for the last 2.5 years and change, the NCAA has done everything it possibly can to avoid this exact kind of lawsuit. And now it is in this lawsuit, and we're going to find out what the NCAA can really push back on and have the court system views the NCAA. And the other thing to mention, and JD, let's get in the weeds real quick here, right? So we talk about antitrust laws. This is basically like the federal government overseeing monopolies and things of that sort. The NCAA has been hoping to get this antitrust exemption for years, and they haven't. And now this is all going to be put to the test in the courts.
And you were saying too, like this wasn't something that just happened overnight, because the way that I interpreted this was, hey, Dondi Plowman goes full Eminem on these guys. I mean, just drops bars in her statement, says, okay, y'all want to come after us, we're going to fight all this. And then this morning, Pete Thamel puts out this, tweet that says, okay, they are going to give him a lawsuit, but this was happening, or it was on this course to happen regardless, is what you were saying?
Yeah, I mean, I read the lawsuit this morning, right? It came out in the Eastern District of Tennessee, like Pete reported. But I mean, like the temporary restraining order, there's multiple declarations in that, which is basically letters that have been submitted to the court from athletic director Danny White, Spire Sports co-founder James Clausen. There's an economist with testimony in there. Like, none of this came together overnight. This has been building. Tennessee knew the NCAA was going to investigate, and they opted to run to the war chest and go to war, I guess, with the NCAA.
And a lot of us, I think, as soon as we saw that there was smoke between the NCAA and Tennessee, like the most high-profile NIL individual you would imagine is Nico Iamaleava, by nature of all the rumors around him potentially being like the $8 million recruit and all that. And then Spire Sports puts out a statement, basically, from what I could tell, saying like, hey, listen, we did everything well above board. There's nothing shady going on here. Like, don't look at us, basically. Is it fair to assume that like the whole Nico Iamaleava and the smoke around the NIL dollars he's collecting is a catalyst to this whole investigation and what's happening? Or how much of a role was the Nico Iamaleava NIL smoke to this whole investigation in your mind?
Yeah, so they're tied together at the hip, right? So while I say the lawsuit has come together over time, they're coordinated. I mean, they have to do with each other. And obviously what the state attorney generals are challenging here is that the NCAA cannot prohibit recruits from coordinating with NIL collectives and signing deals before they arrive on campus, right? And that's exactly what Nico did here. And that's why that we're in the situation we're in now, where the NCAA has sent its enforcement team into Knoxville, and obviously looking into this. And while everyone has kind of circled around the contract, JD, the other thing that's interesting and worth mentioning that the New York Times reported on Tuesday was this booster-funded NIL collective, right, Spire Sports. There's the NCAA is looking into them possibly flying Nico from California to Knoxville on a private jet as a recruit. And I think that is maybe the center of the NCAA investigation, more so than this contract that everyone loves to talk about.
Pete, I see that and I hear things like that. And my first thought is, and maybe I'm just naive to this whole thing, but like my first thought is, isn't everybody doing things of that nature? My thought is it's not Tennessee versus NCAA. It's like college football versus NCAA. Tennessee is just kind of the representative here.
Spot on. And there's been a lot of fun tweets this morning that have really gotten to the point of maybe that the NCAA has come on a little stronger than they maybe should have. And I mean, man, Tennessee is one of the top athletic departments in the country. They're so well coordinated. This lawsuit comes out this morning, JD, and like you have the governor like vouching for it. You have like it's just so well coordinated. And at the end of the day, I mean, I think the NCAA is definitely in a really tough spot right now.
I was going to say, like, what cards do they even hold in this whole situation? Like, if I'm the NCAA, you're trying to refer to like old laws or old rules that were in place, or like the ever-changing structure. Like, what can the NCAA do here, Pete?
They're obviously going to fight back in the courtroom, but man, like they have like 6 court battles they're fighting right now. I mean, and just like a quick rundown, if they lose any of these, like you could be looking at athletes being classified as employees. You could look at revenue sharing. You could look at unionization. And I mean, obviously the NCAA has been hoping to go to Congress, right, to get this all fixed so they don't have to lose the courtroom battles. But Congress ain't moving, man. I mean, this is officially the tipping point of college sports.
Golly. And we're living it. And you and I are alive for this whole thing, man. Where
we love it,
the
man.
NCAA went down?
We love it, man. And you're right on, JD. I know you said college football versus the NCAA. You couldn't be more spot on. People have been pleading with the NCAA for years to actually like try to enforce NIL. And now they try to do it when everyone's been doing it for almost 3 years. I mean, people are pissed off. And you're spot on that as college football versus the NCAA.
Well, here we go. I'm kind of rubbing my hands together here, just waiting for some sort of resolution. How far off do you think we are from resolution? Is this something where it wages on for like 4 or 5 years, or is this something where like before the end of next college football season, we have some sort of ruling and some sort of definitive decision here?
That's a great question, right? So you have the House case right now, and that is obviously sorry. I had a phone call just jumped in.
You're great. You're blowing up, man. You're in high demand these days.
No. I'm not that big. I apologize for that real quick. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, of course. I was just saying, like, what's the timeline here? Like, are we close to getting some sort of resolution on this? Or is it like, cool, we have something going with Tennessee and the NCAA, and we'll figure it out in like 4 or 5 years?
Right. Yeah. So this specific thing, I don't see being resolved very quickly, right? Like, let's say Tennessee and the Virginia State Attorney Generals win the first time around. Well, obviously the NCAA is going to appeal. They're not going to just basically like surrender right away. And this is not the only court case to monitor, right? There's House versus the NCAA, which would basically classify athletes as employees. And if that happens before this is resolved, I mean, at this point, then the NCAA is really in a tough spot. So yeah, a lot of things are coming together, right? Like, think about it like this. Like, maybe there's a bunch of storm cells across the country and they all come together to form a hurricane. That's where we're at right now. They're all kind of coming together.
Better get that umbrella, baby. It's about to rain. I mean, they call Harvey Specter Lewis Litt Mike Ross for those that watch Suits. It's a wrap, right? Like, that's the NCAA's worst nightmare. It's all we need to get done there.
I'm a Lewis Litt fan.
There we go. Well, hey, my philosophy when it comes to talking anything like legal or NIL or whatever it is on this show is the same as pickup basketball. Just like surround yourself with talent. So get Pete Nakos on the team and we're in good shape. That's the talent we need. Appreciate you making time. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.